Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 6 of our 1991 F1 SR, well, actually, ISO series. I'm reading the graphic, coming to you from Mexico City. Cars are finishing their warm-up session right now, and I will go through the qualifying order for you as those positions were sorted at the expiration of time. First on the grid is Ray Radal with a time of 1:13.509. In second, John Team, just 0.3 of a second back. In third, Tim Hilla. Fourth, Grant Radal. Fifth, David Saber. Sixth, Richard Wilkes. Seventh, Giovanni Centorami. Eighth, Cesarius Slipinski. Ninth, Oscar Team. And 10th, Anders Nilsson. Those are your top 10. And Ray Radal being on the pole is significant because he's leading the championship. So we'll talk more about that in a moment. And I'm joined in the booth by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, Jason. Good evening, everybody. Looking forward to a fantastic evening of racing here in, I think, one of the most peculiar tracks of the whole Formula One schedule, which we will be commenting later.
Yeah, it's been quite a while, too, actually, since our last F1 race. We have to go all the way back to April 14th, I believe, when we had the race at Ile Notre Dame. That was on a track that was very tight, but still very fast. And if you look at the track map for this race, Mexico City, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, this is a circuit that, it's an interesting combination of an ultra-fast, long straight, to begin the lap, and then at the back you have this seemingly endless series of serpentine turns. Now, at least judging from previous races we've done that have tracks that are like this, that have kind of dualities to them, this is another situation where drivers are probably going to have to make a hard choice between trimming out their car for high speed and having skittish handling in the turns, or they're going to have to go for more downforce in the turns and then give up a bit of speed in the straight. The cars that have more horsepower, like the Ferraris, for example, and the Hondas, they may be able to get away with a little bit more downforce because they have more power. But the people who have less power, who are not at the pointy end of the circuit, are going to need to trim out the car so that they're not sitting ducks on the straight, which means we're probably going to see some pretty lively handling in the turns during this race. Another prominent feature of this course is the semicircular curve, the Peraltada curve, a very fast banked semicircular turn that leads to the main straight. You got to get through there very quickly because it's very critical to your terminal velocity at the end of the long straight, and it's great for setting up an overtake. But if you're not careful, you can get into an accident very easily there. We saw drivers as skilled as Ayrton Senna back in the day having huge shunts in that curve. So there's a lot that everybody's going to have to keep in mind, and everyone's going to have to be on the ball here for 67 laps, a little less than 300 kilometers. Now, Alberto, what are your thoughts on this very interesting Mexican circuit?
Well, I think you covered it pretty much very well, because there are, I believe, three things that define this track, which is the long straight, as you already mentioned, the twisty section that goes then all behind that and that winds you back to the main straight, and the parabolica turn. That's a very high-speed turn. That's a banked. It has very high Gs, and it's going to put a lot of stress on the tires. So it's three absolutely completely different parts of the track that require all different setups that will be conflicting with each other. So you need to make a compromise here. And the interesting thing here also is that, as you said, whatever you make in the parabolica will mean what your terminal velocity is in the straight, which means in turn if you will be able to overtake or be overtaken, but also the tire temperatures, because if you put a lot of stress due to high wind on that parabolica, then your tires are going to suffer, and they're going to suffer a lot. I mean, you have the long straight to recover the temperatures, but that might not be enough if you have put some real good stress there. Also, we should mention that because of that peculiar nature of the track, with like being twofold, you got an opportunity to overtake in the main straight, but there is basically no other opportunity. because in the twisty section it is nearly impossible to overtake.
Yeah.
It's very narrow, not just twisty, very narrow. And as you were very rightfully pointing out, if you get a slow car that is ahead of you because it has low wings and high speeds, and you are not able to overtake it on the main straight, then you will be suffering behind that car for the whole of the twisty section, which is basically half of the lap, and in terms of lap time, much more than that. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the quicker cars are going to negotiate this. And while I believe that the top of the grid will be able to more or less get away with the shortcomings of the track and the problems with lapping cars, the question is what will happen and how will it influence when you are fighting for positions here? Because as I said, you got basically one chance of overtaking.
All right, so let's take a look at the driver's points coming into today's race. As we mentioned, Ray Radal is in the lead. He has 34 points. Anders Nilsson is in second with 28. Then it's a tie for third between Giovanni Santarami and Richard Coxon with 16 points apiece. And then fifth on the chart is Cezary Lipinski with 11 points. Looking at the constructors' standings, Cannon Williams' team is at the top with 35 points. Team 7-Up Jordan is in second with 30 points. Scuderia Italia is in third with 20 points. That's Delara. Fourth is Braun Tiro Honda with 19 points. And then we have the Minardi team with 12 points. So before we go any further, we do have to acknowledge a passing that occurred during the week. A driver that I know Alberto has a great deal of respect for, and so do I. Parnelli Jones left us, and he was 90 years old, an incredibly versatile driver in his day, and also a great businessman and a car owner. Just taking a look at some of his career highlights. He won the 1963 Indianapolis 500 from pole position, and it was significant because he beat the state-of-the-art rear-engine Lotus Ford of Jim Clark with his front-engine Watson Offenhauser nicknamed Calhoun, and that was kind of a controversial finish because his car was leaking a bit of oil, but USAC didn't think it was too big of a problem and let him hang on to capture his one and only Indy 500 title. That same year, Jones won the stock car. I'm sorry, not the stock car division. He won the. Yes, he did. Sorry, the stock car division of the legendary Pikes Peak Hill Climb. He also won the Baja 1000 in 1971 and 72. He was USAC Sprint Car Champion in 61 and 62. He was the USAC Stock Car Champion, there we go, in 64. And he also drove one of my favorite cars, the legendary Turbine Andy Granatelli STP car in 1967 in the 500. Jones dominated that race and should have won, but a $6 transmission bearing failure sidelined him with only a few laps to go, and AJ won the race. And of course, as Alberto and I are keenly aware, he later on became a very successful car owner. He teamed up with Vel Miletich to come up with Vel's Parnelli Jones Racing, and they won back-to-back Indy 500s with Al Unser in 70 and 71 with the Johnny Lightning Special, and the team won the 70, 71, and 72 USAC championships. Jones even dabbled in F1 for a little bit. He fielded cars from 74 to early 76. And as a businessman, I didn't know this, or I was not aware of how many of these he owned. He owned and operated, through Parnelli Jones Incorporated, 47 retail tire centers in 4 U.S. states. So, a really accomplished guy, very versatile, but not only in his driving career, but also in his business career. Anything you'd like to say about Parnelli Jones, Alberto?
Well, I think it's hard to say anything that hasn't been said already, but the one thing that strikes me, and you and me have been talking about that lately very much, is that it's so sad to see that this is a generation of legends. Some of them are still alive, like Mario, who we got the pleasure and the honor to interview ourselves, AJ Foyt and such, and it's very sad because we are seeing so many of them passing almost at the same time because they are well into the 80s and 90s, and I think it's something that when you see someone like this, you can reflect upon a very thoroughly lived life, because this is a guy that has done absolutely everything, and we all know that life is finite. We all know that he will be passing away, but man, what a way to go for them. I mean, this guy had absolutely everything, and earns total respect from anyone in any of the areas of life that you can look at it. So it's incredible, and it's an example. Even if they unfortunately are no longer among us, I mean, those guys are outstanding, and it's absolutely no surprise to see how successful they were all across in several areas of life.
Yeah, I mean, I am always impressed by people who have the ability to reinvent themselves over and over again, and Parnelli certainly qualified in that score. So long, Parnelli. We'll miss you, and your legacy is going to live on. He has a grandson, Jagger Jones, who's running in Indy next, and so the Parnelli racing heritage will continue.
Yeah, and speaking of that, it's quite funny that I remember when I was, well, I was much younger than now, and I was getting so much in love with IndyCar racing. And back then, there was a certain PJ Jones that
Yes,
actually
PJ.
raced in IndyCar.
He also raced.
And
in
I
IMSA.
never knew, yeah, and I never knew that he was actually the son of legend Parnelli Jones, because he was discreet about it. I mean, he just went by. There was no Alan Sir Jr., no Parnelli Jones Jr. thing, you know. The guy
Yeah.
just wanted like to try to make him point himself, and it's interesting because, as you say, it seems that he has spawned several generations of races also.
Yeah, I've seen
Although in
Jagger.
a much more discreet way as the Answers or the Andretti's.
I've seen Jagger Jones race, and he's really good. So look to see him. Okay, so here we go for a flying lap now with Richard Wilkes coming down the long straightaway here, and he's going to. This is probably the longest straightaway we see in the series. Now he downshifts for a right-left combination. He has a little bit of banking here and there, not too much, but now he's going to accelerate up the second longest straight. And this is going to take him up to a hairpin that really starts this long serpentine section that seems to go on forever. Left here, right here. This is the slowest part of the course coming up right here as he turns to the right. Yeah, this is the slowest part of the course. And now starts this long series of curves that wind back and forth. Now this is where there's going to be problems for people who have trimmed out their cars to do good in the straight. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see some spins in this area of the track during the race itself. We'll see what happens. But very twisty section here. And that's the last turn. Now he's on what you could call the back straightaway. He heads into the Peraltada. Actually, he's going straight for the pits. But you can see how there's banking in that curve that does help you get through it super fast. It's almost like an oval curve. In fact, I think they'd have an oval that's built in with into that section, if I'm not mistaken. So there's Wilkes coming into the pits. This is a valuable time for everybody to warm up to make sure that everybody has the correct amount of downforce and everything, and making sure they're okay with the way the car is going to handle. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention to everybody here, as far as the broadcast is concerned, we're doing a bit of an experiment here. My modem and my internet connection was recently upgraded. Why, I have no idea. I was just told by my internet provider that I had more speed. So I figured, okay, let's bump up the kilobytes per second and see if we can get everybody a slightly better picture. So
In true racer spirit.
yes, so it seemed silly not to try it, so we're going to give it a shot and see what happens here. So if any dropped frames occur during the start because of all the cars being on the track at once, we'll know we've gone over the limit, and then we can run it back. But we're looking for a benchmark here, so we ask for your patience where that's concerned. Let's talk about what's coming up soon at ISO. The Granada Land Ford Dealers Motorsport Weekend. That's a mouthful. Coming up next Sunday. That's our touring car series, round 8 of 13. Race 1's going to start at 2000 CEST. And that's the 1996 British Touring Car Championship. Trivia question for you to ponder before we go to the grid. Trevor Taylor shared the 1962 Mexican Grand Prix victory with which of the following drivers? A. Jim Clark, B. Jack Brabham, or C. Innes Ireland? We'll have the answer later on the broadcast. This is the only situation in the history of the Mexican Grand Prix where two people shared the winning two people shared the win as co-drivers. So now we're going to go back to AMS here, and we are waiting for the drivers to take the grid. As I mentioned before, Ray Riddall is on the pole. There he is already in the Williams. Let's get the lap chart here ready to go. And as soon as we go off on our parade lap, we'll be giving you the full grid here. 67 laps on the board. And I dare say that this is going to be a very taxing race for everybody mentally, Alberto.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be very complicated to negotiate the traffic. There is a slight relief there in the straight. That's a good point that it has, but that's about the only thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here they go, peeling away. On the pole is Ray Riddall in his Williams Renault FW14. In second, John Team, Leighton House Ilmore. That's the highest qualifying position for a Leighton House this year. So we may see a very, very interesting start here. Third on the grid is Tim Hilla in his Minardi Ferrari. Fourth on the grid, Grant Riddall, Delara Judd. Fifth is David Saber, the first of the Ferraris. Sixth is Richard Wilkes, Tyrrell Honda. Seventh, Giovanni Centrami, Delara Judd. Eighth, Cesarius Lipinski, Minardi Ferrari. Ninth is Oscar Team, Leighton House Ilmore. 10th is Anders Nilsson, Jordan Ford, J191. 11th, Nicholas Kirsten, LaRousse Ford, LC91. 12th, Juha Boss, Benetton Ford, B191. 13th, Lewis Wedding in the second of the Tyrrells. 14th, Gabriel Del Piccolo, LaRousse Ford, LC91. 15th, Bruno Chacon in the second Benetton. 16th, Luciano Rocha in the second Ferrari. 17th, Miguel Drexler in the second Williams Renault. 18th is Mark Matthias Whitman in the Ligier Lamborghini. 19th, Lewis Stevens in the Fonmetal Ford. 20th, Luke Rosella in the Footwork Porsche FA12. 21st, Johnny Aces, Coloni Ford C4. 22nd, Dario Epa, Ligier Lamborghini JS35. 23rd is Jules Bouchard, Jordan Ford. 24th, K.O. McKeels, Brabham Yamaha. 25th, Felipe Elias in the AGS Ford. And rounding out the field in the other AGS Ford is Aaron Curtis. The DNQs for this race: Claudio Augusto, Dante Barbera, Rob DeVries, Owen Potter, Peter Hlavich, and Gilles Towe. So they're going to be slipping into their deck shoes a bit earlier than they wanted to today. But that's the rules. Only the 26 fastest start. So here we come to the grid now.
Yeah, and I'll hazard a guess. We got the top cars that are with the usual normal setup, and then probably the ones that have slotted inside are going to be with a very radical setup. So let's see how it goes.
All right, so the points leader is on the front row in first place, but we've got John Team on the outside. This is going to be very interesting because the Leighton House team has been wanting a start like this, or a place on the grid like this. Here we go. Stand by for the start of the Mexican Grand Prix. And the race is underway! Excellent getaway by Ray Riddall. Looks like a little bit of a collision there between one. Oh my goodness, there is a definite collision there with a Minardi. But look at the space that Ray Riddall's pulled out already. In second place is one of the Minardis. It appears to be Schlapinski. Or no, wait, that would be Tim Hilla. But look at this, absolutely amazing.
Great start. In 11th.
Oh, Tim Hill's in 11th, so that's actually...
Yeah, he made a horrible start. I mean, he forgot to take out the handbrake.
Good grief. Well, Ray Riddall is in the lead as they come around now. Schlapinski definitely is the one in second place. Grant Riddall third, so Schlapinski had a rocket start. But here they come now through this serpentine section. Grant, the younger Riddall, is in third. Saber fourth, John Team in fifth, Centurami is in sixth, and here they come through the end of the long serpentine section. Doesn't appear that there have been any collisions, maybe some light touching of wheels before they got to the end of the straight, but everybody appears to be in good trim, all 26 cars still running, which is great. Ray goes through
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Ray goes through the fast final sweeping turn, and now onto the main straightaway. Ray Riddall leads. In second, Cesarius Lipinski. Grant Riddall is in third. In fourth is David Saber in the Ferrari. So the surprise really is John Team. He's all the way down in fifth. He didn't have that great of a start either, but we'll see if he can pick up some places as the race goes on. But absolute textbook start, though, from Ray Riddall. Exactly what he wanted it to be. And now here is Grant Riddall challenging to get inside of Lipinski. Almost does it there. Doesn't quite get it done, but we're on board now with Grant. He's right behind Lipinski, looking for any chance he can to get through. Oh, Lipinski runs wide. There goes Grant into second place. I think that was a bit of a mistake on Lipinski's part. Kind of locked up going into that corner. And now Lipinski has to deal with Saber. Saber's right behind him now.
Look, this is one of those situations that happens many times in the races where I don't like it, but you got cars like, for example, in the case of Cesarius, who didn't have the same race pace as the people that are that qualified higher than him, but he made a brilliant start. I mean, Cesarius is a great driver, and his start was absolutely flawless. I mean, not touching, not getting any hiccups, and absolutely getting there in the middle. But the problem is race pace. He doesn't likely have the race pace of the people that he has slotted in between, and that's going to make a significant impact in the race later, because he's going to hamper some of those that are behind, and he's going to be overdriving just to keep the pace. And look at that!
David Saber trying on the inside, and there's contact there, but does not get through. But then here comes John Team. We have a yellow flag in this section, not sure why, but Saber really tried there to get by Lipinski, and it just didn't happen, and then he almost lost the place he had to, Dario Apa is out of the race. That's probably what the yellow flag was for. Yeah. Unfortunate to be out of the race with only one lap complete, but in any case, if we look at Saber, now he's having to deal with John Team crawling behind him. We also see Centurami back there and Richard Wilkes. So
yeah, but look at the traffic jam that is right behind Cesarius, and this is what I was talking about. I mean, things like John Team, for example, losing 3, 4, 5 places in the start, in the bad start, that's somehow okay. But Cesarius, for example, it's a minority thing. I mean, Cesarius should have 10 places, and poor Team Hille basically dropped another 10. So both are absolutely out of where they belonged in this specific race.
That was very interesting right there.
A lot of problems.
That was interesting. Lipinski took a very different line through the Peraltada than Saber would have. But here we go, coming down the long straightaway. Saber is going to try. We see one car, several cars pop out here trying to get in alongside. Saber's going to try the same thing, and it doesn't work this time either. Lipinski sweeps across. Don't forget that Lipinski is using last year's spec Ferrari engine, so he's got the same kind of 12-cylinder power that David has. So if David thinks he's going to motor by just on power alone, he's not. That's not going to happen. Lipinski definitely has been working on his setup, and he's got a car that's comparable in performance to Saber's. So
well, that might be so in the main straight, as we have seen. I mean, it's not enough for David Saber to pass him, but look at what happens when we're in the twisted section.
Yeah.
I mean, they are eating him.
Yeah, and the second and the third, second, and first cars are all getting way far away. So Saber's probably thinking about that too. That like I don't want to lose touch with the front of the field.
No, that's a frustrating thing, because look, Ray Riddall is right now 4 seconds clear of anybody else behind him.
Look
at
this.
The rest are still struggling there.
Yeah, Saber's too far back now to make any kind of attack, but you wonder if he's like damaged his car a little bit with those 2 past altercations. In any case, Ray Riddall is in the lead still. Grant is now in second place. And Ray has got a lead now of about 4 seconds. And here we see a car that we're already starting to lap. I guess someone might have had to come into the pits, but it appears to be Nicholas Kirsten, who is running 25th at the moment.
Yeah, he was in the pits, so there must have been some damage repair, or maybe a puncture, something like that.
Something like that.
But look at that, look what's happening here. Look at David Sabre and Giovanni Santarami absolutely boxed behind Cesarius. because in this twisty section it's nearly impossible to overtake, and
Yeah,
then
forget
on
it.
top of that you got the washout,
Yeah, forget
which
it at
is
this
what
point.
is killing you in the Parabolica before the main straight.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to overtake anybody through here. It's just simply just trying to get through cleanly and as quickly as possible. And then you get to this straight here that comes next, and you're trying to set up for the Peraltada.
Sorry, yeah, I said Parabolica, it should be Peraltada, right? Which is actually a Spanish term, so I should know better.
That banking, though, is so critical through there. It really, really helps you to carry speed through. And
Yeah.
you got to be careful, though, to not run off like Senerami did right there. So looking down the list here, you can see cars are starting to spread out a little bit, but you can see the slipstreaming battles that are happening. There's a Jordan back there trying to get around. See, who is that? That is Nilsson getting around Tim Hilla, and he did it the hard way on the outside, but using the slipstream to get up the field. So Nilsson, who started 10th, is now up to 9th. And he's looking at Richard Wilkes in front of him there. Team is all the way down to 7th now, so he definitely had the legs in qualifying, but the race setup doesn't seem to be doing what he wants him to do quite yet. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's like I said, basically both Minardi swapped the position.
Yeah.
He is much quicker than the position he is in right now. And that's actually helped by the fact that in front of him, Cesarius is basically holding everybody behind him.
Yeah, Saber a little bit closer this time, but I don't think he's got enough juice to get by. Coming through. Peraltada back onto the main straight now.
I think that David is basically letting his tires cool down a bit, because he made some effort to try to overtake quickly Slapinski, and the only thing he managed to do was actually overheat the tires. So I'm thinking, that's my rationale, that what he should be actually trying to do if he wants to overtake Slapinski is to make it here, in this back stretch. But to do that, he has to be close enough on the long straight and not eager to overtake, stay behind him close and try to overtake here, because otherwise it's not going to happen. And look at that, I mean, he even has to drive with an eye on his mirrors, because Giovanni Santorami is all over him.
Yeah, it's really hard to look ahead and plan what you're going to do when you have people like breathing down your neck, trying to take the position that you have. It's really, really hard. It means that you have to have 360-degree vision, essentially. Here they come down the long straight again.
Yeah, and look at the long straight in perspective, and you will see what I mean. There's a real traffic jam behind Cesarius.
Yeah. So it's a Radal and Radal show so far up front, and you're watching everybody bottled up behind Cesarius right now. Not to denigrate him, he's doing the best he can.
No, absolutely no
Yeah.
critic. I mean, he has basically maximized his car, and this is what a really good driver should do. I mean, make the most out of your equipment and of the track. And if you can score points like this and box the quicker cars behind you, then all the power to you, man. I just say that it's not the nicest situation for the viewers, or from the point of view of having an exciting race, because I know that David Saber and the rest behind him must be very frustrated, although I guess Cesarius will have a smile that covers from ear to ear behind his helmet right now.
Well, the other thing, and you mentioned it earlier, or alluded to it, the aerodynamic effect of being behind another car so close, especially going through these turns, the car is gonna push more, and you're going to overheat your front tires if you're not careful. So tire management becomes a problem if you're constantly stuck behind somebody.
Yeah. It is, yes. Going to be a big
Oh, look at
problem,
this.
but
Here comes Santorami. He's going to attempt to overtake Saber. He's going to try to outbrake him. No, he can't quite get it done. Although he is alongside him, though. Oh, shoot. Is he going to take the line away from him? He does. Centorami up to 4th place.
Well, at this point, I think that David basically should let Centorami go by and try to work together with him.
Well, he's let him go by now. It's elbows out racing now.
Correct. If Centorami manages to push Cesarius out of the way, that could be the way to open the gates and let the flood come through. If you see what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, and look at that. Look at the space that Centorami's opened up on Sabre already. Just in that point. So now he's getting into a situation where, and he's driving the same car that Grant's driving. So it's definitely a competitive car. Now he's closing in on Ślepinski really fast.
Oh, for sure. Everybody behind is much quicker. But wait until he gets boxed behind Ślepinski, and you will see how everybody joins the party with Centorami there.
Down the straight again.
Yeah, and the Dallara has even less legs in this straight than the Ferrari. I'm looking forward to see what he's going to try to do to overtake Ślepinski.
I keep forgetting, is this a Judd V10 or a Judd V8?
I think it should be a V8.
Let me look at my notes.
I don't know. Look at that. He's now trying.
It's a V10. It's a V10. So he's giving up 2 cylinders to Ślepinski, but look at him right here through the twisty bits. He seems to be in a better position than Ślepinski is. The only car, by the way, that's upgraded the engine horsepower for this race is Ferrari. It's gone from 679 brake horsepower to 692. And that's still not the highest horsepower on the grid. The highest horsepower that's listed here is Jordan and Benetton with their Ford HBs, believe it or not. Next down is Williams at 700 horsepower. It's just 5 horsepower difference, but on a track like this, that might be the difference between making it through at the end of the straight and not. I think Centorami might have set him up nicely here, but we'll see what the acceleration difference is here down the long straight. He's closing a little bit on Ślepinski. I think most of that is slipstream. But that was a kind of a hopeful move there.
Desperate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He actually did contact his left front with Ślepinski's right rear. Thankfully, no harm, no foul. Tim Hilla is out of the race.
Oh,
so
no.
That's one of the first front runners to be out, and that's also a Minardi, like the one we're watching here from the cockpit of Giovanni. So tough break for Tim. He had a great qualifying session. And meanwhile, the leaders are just streaking away. First and second, Ray and Grant Riddall. They're just streaking away from these the third and fourth cars here, and Centorami definitely is aching to get by Ślepinski here. But it's a Judd V10 versus a 1990 spec Ferrari V12. So let's see. They're coming down. He looks like he's in the best place he's been in a while as they go through the Paraltada onto the main straight. Yeah, he's still too far back to really...
Yeah, look, it's about what I said, that the quick cars, the cars that have slot in between the very quick ones, but are actually normally midfield cars in terms of engine and chassis spec, the reason they are there is because they have a radical setup. The funny thing is, both Centorami and Ślepinski seem to have the same radical setup, so to speak. I mean, low wings, and that means that for them it's an absolutely no-win situation, because they are on the same specs. It's going to be very hard for Centorami to overtake Ślepinski, and his main hope right now is to pressure him into an error.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably that is a technically good thing to do at this point. Meanwhile, Sabre still has cars climbing all over back of him. Now he's got Juha Boss, who started well back in the field, trying to get his way by, and actually there's John Team as well. So John trying to claw back some of the positions he lost on the start of the race. Now they're coming through the final curve here. Boss looks like he's ready to try and overtake, but so does Team.
I look at Santorami. I mean, Slapinski is much more open, and Santorami is absolutely fleeing away from the slipstream in the Parabolica, in the Peraltada, because he doesn't want to have anything to do with
Look at this
washout.
Here comes Yuha alongside Saber. Is he going to be able to outbrake him? No, it doesn't appear that he is going to. But there in the back, you see Nilsson also trying on Richard Wilkes, but it doesn't work. So it's interesting because it seems like most of these guys, they have just enough power to try to get by. As here comes this second group of cars, and you can see John Team there darting back and forth trying to find an opening. But it seems like most cases, like people have just enough power to get alongside, maybe getting down to the end of the straight, but just not enough to get by.
No, and Saber, who probably destroyed his tires trying to make a move from Cesarius previously, is actually now playing the same role himself with the group that he's behind.
Yeah, I mean,
he's streaking away on the main straight. Well, slower.
It's really difficult when you have tires that have been overheated by pushing too hard, because the only way you can get them back to a point where they're competitive is by slowing down. And charging through a corner like the one we just saw here is not something that you want to do too often, because you'll burn up the left side tires in the process. Most of the turns here, the fast ones, are left-hand turns. So
yeah, look at Nilsson. He already pulled twice out of Richard Wilkes' slipstream, and in both situations he was absolutely unable to make.
Yeah, he pulls out and it's like a parachute suddenly opened.
Exactly.
Yeah. These foreshortened shots make it seem as if the cars are a lot closer to each other than they actually are. But Wilkes is going to be doing a good job defending his position from Anders Nilsson.
Even Santorami has basically given up on overtaking Cesar.
At the moment, yeah, he's going to...
By the way, he's basically the same distance from Saber as he was before.
Boss is still very close to David Saber here. He really and I think Boss, he started way down the field. He wasn't in the top 10. I forget where he was in the grid itself, but he certainly wasn't in the top 10. Now he's running 6th, so he has a car that's very well suited to the race pace. So the question now is, can he finally motor that thing by Saber? We mentioned that the horsepower figures on the Ford HB is just a little bit more as he pulls out now alongside. He's got no help out there. He has to duck back in to get more slipstream. Maybe he'll take another stab at it at the end of the straight. Here he comes to the inside. Out breaks Saber. Oh, man. I don't think there was contact there, but it was close. And,
nope.
There was contact a little bit, but Boss now finally gets by David Saber. It took him 2 or 3 stabs at it before he finally had it stick on the straight. That's how long that straight is. You can have multiple overtaking attempts on one straight, but Saber is not going to take this line down. He's definitely pushing. He wants to try to get that position back, and he's got the horsepower to do it. Question is are his tires up to the task? Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that the Benetton is Pirelli shod, so early on those tires are probably going to be pretty good, but late in the stint, I don't know. Probably not as good as you would like him to be. But look at Boss. He's streaking away already.
And Santorami nearly gets Cesarius here. Does he get him? Yes. Oh!
Very, very close. There was just it's similar to some overtakes we saw earlier, or attempts, where you get alongside and the other driver just closes the door. It's a very dangerous place to do that, though. It's less dangerous down here where it's like slower speed. Doing it in a high-speed turn like that is very dangerous stuff.
Yeah, and I'm most interested to see when the pit stops begin, what kind of tires had David Saber mounted, because I think that has been his letdown. I mean, that the tires that he started with, they got quickly destroyed in this fight with Cesarius Lapinski and never recovered. So I think he made a bad choice there.
Slapinski had a bit of a slow exit from the hairpin there, so Santorami now has another Might be able to take another stab at him, but then Slipinski pulls out a bit more there. So, but yeah, Juha definitely has the faster car compared to Sabre, because look at how much she's pulling out already. I wouldn't be surprised if Nilsson tries to overtake Sabre in about a lap or two.
Yeah, and this is a pattern that we should be seeing today multiple times, because you will never know how much or how quick a car really is until he gets rid of the car that was in front. And because it's so complicated to overtake here, and the low wings strategy pays off so much to block the people behind, we might actually get surprised by that when people finally manage to overtake and all of a sudden they take off.
All right, Centurami coming through. Again, like didn't have an overtake attempt there, but he's definitely closer to Slipinski.
There goes Nilsson on David Sabre.
He's trying.
Doesn't
quite get it done, but then look at this. John Team looks like he's going to make an attempt here. And does he get by? No, he does not. Nilsson retains the position, but he almost lost it there after the unsuccessful attempt to overtake Sabre.
Well, he certainly managed to overtake Wilkes previously, as he was behind him.
Mm-hmm. My goodness.
Well, either Centurami is able to overtake Slapinski quick enough, or he will soon have problems.
Well, look at this. He's right with him now. He's right with him now. He might actually do it going into the Peraltada. They're side by side. Banging wheels, Centurami into third place before they even get to the straightaway.
That was very skillful.
Yeah, now
I saw him trying that some laps before, and he was like gauging it, sensing it, feeling his way, and now he managed to pull it. And I think the fact that Juha is coming quick from behind was an extra motivation.
Yeah, and now look at that. I was sure that Slipinski would try to counterattack in the straight, and he wasn't able to mount a counterattack. That surprised me a lot. But look at how Centurami is streaking away now, and very shortly, Slipinski is going to have Juha Boss to contend with.
Louis Wedding is making a very nice appearance here. He is already behind his teammate Richard Wilkes, and absolutely all over his rear wing. Coming from behind, very nice driving here.
Another update that Ferrari had for this race, the suspension geometry was improved for more consistent grip and handling, and and we already mentioned that the engine was improved. Tire wear here is going to be medium to high, and it's a situation where I think we've seen it played out already in front of us, where the temperatures need to be managed a lot on the back section, and in the Peraltada, patience is required. But first sector, with help of tire wear, the tires can cool down, which is helpful. Right after turn one, you get that long straight where they can cool down a bit. So brake wear is also low, and we are expecting 1 to 2 pit stops. I would expect 1 from most people, I would think.
Yep. And like I said, looking forward to see what kind of tires did David Sabre mount on his first stint, because I think they have basically killed him.
Yeah, I'm guessing he didn't make quite the right choice with tires, as the front of the field is starting to overtake more people. The AGS there being overtaken by Centurami. Ray Radal is leading the race by 12 seconds right now. 12 seconds between him and Grant. And it's a further 7 seconds from where Grant is to Slipinski. I'm sorry, to Centurami. And Slipinski is in 4th place. Juha in 5th, having just dispensed earlier with David Sabre. You saw it on the in the screen here. So we are coming up now to lap number 20. And I would expect we're going to see people in around lap 30. We'll see what happens. But
and this is interesting. Look at Nicholas Kirsten. He's basically overtaking Cesarius Lapinski.
Oh! Oh my goodness! A slight miscommunication there. Slipinski got tapped. Oh my goodness!
Oh yeah,
What is
Juha
going?
Boss there.
Oh my goodness! It's 3 wide into the first turn as Boss tries to maintain contact with Slipinski. That was very dangerous. I don't think Kirsten or the car, the AGS that's with him there, I don't think they were quite aware of how many cars were trying to get by. There was actual contact between, I believe that was Aaron Curtis.
No, but I mean, Kirsten is right now, he was a back marker, he was being lapped because he had an early pit stop, and yet he was quicker than Cesarius at that point. So, like I said, in the case of Cesarius, he got a setup that was very aggressive. It paid off for some laps, but now he's dropping like a stop. And even a lapped car, like Kirsten, was able to stay with him, and Juha Boss is now catching up with him.
Oh yeah, Juha's definitely catching up with Slipinski now. This is the B191 Benetton, with the high nose, which has been in the series for a bit now. Most of the cars upgraded to their 1991 that hadn't been upgraded in 91 did so by the European theater.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the high nose era in Formula One.
Yeah,
Some years later, everybody will be there.
Yeah,
in the mid 90s.
The two
Ferrari 96. Yeah.
The 2 cars that principally have them in this mod are the Benetton on your screen right now, and the Tyrrell is the other one. You can see them in the background right there. They were actually the first to the party with that nose setup way back in 1990.
Wedding now overtaking Richard Wills. Good move there on the same equipment.
Yeah, those are the 2 Tyrrells running together. And Lewis Wedding now overtaking his teammate Richard Wilkes. Anytime you can overtake the guy who wrote the physics for this mod, that says something about your ability. Lewis.
Okay, and Juha Boss already dispensed with Cesarius.
Well, that was quick. He did. Wow. Let's see if we can look at that on a replay. It happened.
But like I said, Cesarius' car isn't as quick as it was at the beginning of the stint. I mean, this is nothing like the opposition that David Sabre got or even Giovanni Santorano.
This happened way back. It must have happened back a few corners ago. But here's Boss in 4th now and pulling out a bit of a gap on Slipinski. And Sabre doesn't appear to be suffering too much at this point. And here goes Lewis Wedding to overtake John Team going into the first turn. And he pulls it off. Wedding up to 8th place now with that move. In the Tyrrell Honda 020. I was going to say that I'm surprised Nilsson's not all over the back of Sabre. Maybe Sabre's had some time to let his tires cool, and now maybe he's in a better spot as far as they're concerned. But I don't know. We'll see. Now Slipinski seems to close in. I'm sorry, Nilsson seems to close in a little bit more in this back section. This is where Sabre appears to not do so well through here. He seems to lose time. Once he gets on the straight, those Ferrari horses come to his rescue. But not until he gets there.
He actually was able to put some distance here in the last string of turn. So I guess that extra Ferrari power, he's making use of it to have a bit more of wing, but I think the main problem is the tires, not so much the chassis setup.
All right, coming down the long straight again. Doesn't look like it's going to be an overtake here. Nope, nobody's sticking their neck out in this situation.
Whoopa, John Tim went into the grass.
Yeah, John Team not having the best of time near it. Started on the front row.
Here comes Wedding, another overtake.
Another
Look at
one.
what he's doing with Nilsson.
Oh, almost gets him. He's on the outside now, heading into this. Oh, he's fighting for it, but he's in the wrong. Look at this. Is he going to do this on the outside? Now he's in the right place for the next corner. Oh my goodness, there's contact there between Nilsson and Wedding. Nilsson manages to fend him off, but Wedding was on the wrong part of the track for much of that overtaking attempt. He was on the outside trying to...
Very skillful driving there, side by side. But
well, good job by Nilsson to hold his position. despite Wedding's persistent attack. Now Wedding's going to probably try it again on the long straight here. The Honda engine in there is the one that McLaren used the previous year. It is no slouch. It is a quick car. And a nice, compact, simple design by Harvey Postlethwaite, that Tyrrell 020. I believe it was Postlethwaite who designed this car. And he pops out. Well, he looks for it, but decides not a good idea right now. But Wedding is certainly quick in that car today. I believe it's just a one-off appearance for him. But he's also got a very hungry John Team behind him. Oh, here he comes again. This is the same place he did it before. He's alongside him once again, and he gets it done. Wedding up to 7th place. And I believe there was a bit of a... Nilsson.
No, but I don't
spun.
think that it was the contact that spun Nilsson. I think basically Anders lost it there trying to stay in a distance.
Let's look at the replay here. You can see, he spun in his own really there. There wasn't much contact, but if any at all. But now he's trying to get it going again, and the grass apparently very slippery here at the Emiranos Rodriguez circuit. But he gets going again. But he's all the way down to 10th now after that, which I'm sure he's not very happy about. But Wedding was not going to be denied. And he was making that attempt to overtake in an unconventional place at the top where the hairpin is. He just seems to really have people's number up there. Now the question is, can he get past David Saber here? Not this time, but he's certainly well placed to try a similar hairpin overtake on this lap. Let's pay close attention to Wedding here. He's definitely looking very racy in this Tyrrell Honda. And look at that, he tries, he makes an attempt, but it doesn't happen. Didn't have the room he needed. No, look at this, he's accelerating on the outside. Is he going to take the long way around again? Yes, he does, and he gets the position with a little bit of a wheel touch there, Wedding up into the top 6 now for Tyrrell.
That was a very skilled move because of the foresight.
Oh my goodness, there's contact there between Saber and John Team. Incidental contact. I think it was just
a bit of a pinball situation in the end, but
I'm really impressed by the performance of Lewis Wedding.
No, like I was saying, I mean, the impressive thing of it was the foresight. I mean, he went the long way round, as you said, but it was not his intent to actually overtake there, but just to place himself in the position to be in the overtaking spot for the next turn. So that was a very good move.
So his next target now is Schlipinski, but he's got a car in between the two of them, so we'll see what happens here. But the race at the front is the same. Ray Riddall is leading his son by 12.7 seconds at the moment. He's coming up now to lap Bruno Chacon in the second of the Benettons, and he makes room for him easily. Grant is... actually, this is interesting. Grant is only 4 seconds ahead of Santarami. It was 7 seconds before. Now it's down to like 4.7, so that gap is shrinking. These guys both running the same equipment, but it'll be interesting to see what... Oh, shoot. Felipe Elias out of the race, so that's both of the AGS cars out of the race, and Tim Hilla in one of the Minardis, so no fun time for them. But
and with 27 laps in the books, I don't think that we will be seeing anybody going for 2 stops.
No, at this point you can pretty much rule out 2-stop races based on the visual evidence. All right, there's a yellow flag up here. I'm not sure what that is. That is a Brabham. K.O. McKeel spins and recovers. That Brabham is not an easy car to drive, I gather, because of the very heavy Yamaha engine in the back. Bouchard making room here for Santarami. Santarami now trying to close more on it's still about the same, 4.8 seconds, almost 5 between him and Grant, but it certainly wasn't that before. Before it was like 7 seconds. So we'll have to keep an eye and see if he reels him in any further. Meanwhile, all the battles that we were having back here in the second part of the serial are kind of broken up because of all the lapped vehicles they're coming up on now. There's really no chance for people to do overtakes. Although, look at Lewis Wedding. He's closed up to Ślepinski in record time. It's going to be a bit tricky here with all these lap cars, but he's certainly faster than Ślepinski at this point. Whoa! He just goes right off onto the dirt there. Look at this. Here he comes. Lewis Wedding. And he does it. He gets by Ślepinski. I think he used the AGS. Well, I'm wrong there. There is one AGS still running. That's Curtis. He's using...
Well, it actually seems as if he used a nitro or something like that, because it's amazing the way he's basically shooting past everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a setup thing, and that he has got one of those good setups that comes to its own towards the end of the stint.
Well, he also has those Pirelli tires on, so the question's also going to be, can he maintain this pace up to the point where he does the pit stop? There's McKeel's making room for him, but this is pretty impressive. He's looking at a points finish, and I don't.
No, he's catching up with Juha Boss.
Yeah.
I mean, he's looking at a podium finish if things go like this.
Ślepinski now down to 6th. And he's got a bunch of lap cars behind him right now. Saber trying to get by Curtis, going into the Peraltada, and now he's going to try to get by, I believe that's Lewis Stephens, yeah. There he goes. He gets by them without any trouble. He might have more trouble with KO because that's a V12 as well. Probably has a lot of grunt in the straight. But yeah, the question is now, can Lewis close in on Boss? Looking at Centorami's time, actually the gap has opened a bit. Now it's a little over. It was, well, now it's 4.8. It depends on what part of the track you look at. The gap accordion's open and shut, so it's kind of hard to judge at times if someone is gaining or losing time or not at all, or just indifferent. But here's Boss right now, and you can see Lewis is starting to close. These two cars both are Pirelli shod.
Man, is he catching up quick? I mean,
His closure rate on these cars in front is amazing. Now, Juha's helping him there by running off the track a bit. Now he's got dust all over his tires as he heads into the Peraltada. But this is a potentially explosive. I think Lewis might have run one F1 race prior to this as a guest drive, but this time he's driving the Tyrrell and making a hell of an impression.
Yeah, Juha Boss' previous lap was 120.1. Lewis Wedding's previous lap was 119.1.
Oh, goodness.
Full second quicker.
That's incredible.
It's incredible, yeah.
Well, as they come into the hairpin section, this is Lewis's favorite part of the track. This is where he's made all of his overtakes. There they're overtaking. That was just Bouchard. He's a lap down. But you can see how he's tracking right in the wheel tracks of Juha here. So we'll see if he's able to improve himself to a podium finish here, or a podium placement. We don't want to say finish. We don't want to curse him. But you can see how these curves also build in speed as you get closer to the backstretch. They're not all the same. And Wedding now is right with Juha. Not going to make an attempt here in the Peraltada. Notice how
he's actually slower here. And if you look carefully at what's going on here, besides the top speed that seems to be quite high, but look, not much better than the one from Juha. But the thing that you can see on Wedding's car, if you look carefully, is it's got an incredible amount of traction. I mean, he's very violent pointing the car, and then he gets an incredible amount of traction. He basically catapults himself out of the corners. That's where he is gaining the times. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, the difference how he came out. And he manages to do that thanks to him being able to turn it so sharply into the corner, despite it being a car that probably has a lot of rear grip.
He was looking for his favorite spot there, but it was already taken by Juha. So
Yep.
he had an inkling that he wanted to do that, but he just...
Yeah, but look at how he throws the car in the corner, and then he perches it against the outside rear wheel, and then it gets incredible amounts of traction. That's how he does it.
Well, some drivers are comfortable driving the car in that fashion. Others find it really disconcerting and would rather not. Oscar team out of the race now. So that's 4 retirements. And Oscar had a great qualifying session. He was 9th on the grid, I believe. Yes. So that's too bad for him. Coming off of the final turn, Lewis looks like he's going to take a breather for a second here.
Yeah, Juha obviously saw that coming, and he was likely trying to settle a bit in the situation.
Saber.
Oh, and Grant Ridal is actually signaling pits now.
Okay, Saber just got by Ślepinski on the straight, and here comes Nilsson looking to... Oh no! John Team is spun at the end of the straight into turn 1, clobbers the wall with both ends of the car. This is not good. Let's take a look at a replay. What happened here?
Cesare Ślepinski is also out.
That's incredible. So here comes John to the end of the straight. He goes to brake, and that looks like a brake bias issue to me. But the car just swaps ends on him, and he clouts both ends of the car. Not a good situation. And Ślepinski is also out of the race. Well, here he is. He's in 11th place, but he's missing a front wing, so he's having to drive very slowly.
Whoa, how Grant Ridal entered the pits. That was quite accidental.
Okay, Grant into the pits first, a second place runner. And he's going to drop down.
Tires?
What tires is he going with here?
Mediums.
Mediums, okay.
On the rear and softs in the front.
Okay, so here we go. Drops the car, and away he goes. He's probably going to be 6th. Maybe.
Whoa, John Team spinning without the rear wing.
Yeah, it's
and the front. It's like a Formula 4.
Oh my goodness!
Right,
there's a Ligier going off the track. Not sure what's happening there.
But Ślepinski is also hanging on without front wing.
Wow.
My goodness.
So Grant reemerges on the track in 6th place. Boss is in 3rd. Same situation with Lewis Wedding actually, and Centorami's now in 2nd. So the question is, when is Ray going to come in? And he's got his indicator on. Now this is interesting. He actually bypasses. He was going to go in, but it looked like there was a car in the way there.
Wedding is absolutely all over Juha Boss now.
Yeah, he definitely is ready to take a.
Juha, who is signaling pits, by the way.
Yeah, Juha's signaling pits, so there's no point in really fighting Lewis in this situation. You may as well just let him go by if you're going to be going to pits, and that's exactly what Juha's doing. Juha heading for the pit lane right now to change Pirellis.
Let's see what kind of tires he does. He will be mounting. Sabre goes for
there are parts all over the exit of the Peraltada. Wings and suspension pieces.
So it's softs all around for Juha Boss.
Okay. Out in the pits, and Ślepinski's in as well.
Yeah, and John Team.
Yeah, Ślepinski is getting his car repaired, so is John Team, so they're going to fall way down the standings. Juha clipped a cone there on the exit of the pits. I wonder if the stewards will have anything to say to him after the race. But in any case, he emerges in 8th place. And here comes Ray now.
Yes.
Yeah, Ray probably wanted to come in the previous lap, but there was a slow-moving car in the entrance lane and probably decided, I don't want to be held up by this person. So he comes in now and he has a clean...
mediums and mediums.
All right.
And I think that's also quite indicating of how much margin he actually has. Because if he can basically just say, oh, it's not the perfect time to come in and I can go one lap more, that tells you very well how much he's confident.
All right, here he comes out of the pits now. In 2nd place, So he didn't lose heart. He only lost one place.
No, it's because Santorami hasn't entered the pits now yet. Sorry. So let's see when he enters then what happens.
Wedding now up to third place with all these stops. Sabre is in fourth. Grant Riddall down to fifth. He's already stopped. And Wilkes is sixth. He has not stopped yet, to my knowledge. So it'll be interesting to see when Santorami decides to come in. No indication from the cockpit that he's going to come in anytime soon. But Santorami leading this Grand Prix in his BMS Dallara D191 Judd.
Whoops. What happened to Wedding? What happened to Wedding? He's out now.
Oh
He
no!
just parked the car.
What happened? Wedding has stopped. And it's at near the hairpin. At
Zero
the top of the
RPM.
circuit. Oh my
Zero
goodness.
RPM.
Did he
Okay.
blow the engine?
It's funny because I was actually looking at him driving from the cockpit view. Yeah, engine.
Engine
And I was thinking
expired.
myself, damn it, he's over revving it bad time.
Well, this is one of these situations where you just have to sit back and just learn something from this. I mean, if he drives this car again, he knows that he can't push it as hard as he was. So all those overtakes that he was doing, they came at a price, and unfortunately, the price is DNF for Lewis Wedding. It's really unfortunate because he had such a great run going.
Yeah, well, I mean, the over revving might have killed him, but the skills and the way he was driving, that's absolutely out of the question. And
Yeah.
Santorami, the leader,
Yes.
is signaling pits already.
Yes, he is. So
This
Santorami-
should, yeah, when he gets in, this should give us back the real picture of the race.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to protect first place. He's only got 11 seconds on Ray Riddall, so Ray will retake the lead. The question is he going to have enough to... He might actually slip back into third place once he exits. We'll see what happens here because there's not all that much distance between him and Sabre. But we'll see what happens. Sabre has not stopped, by the way. Here it comes, Santorami into the pits.
And it's interesting that Cesarius is still in the pits undergoing repairs, and the engine is on. So I guess this is not going to go down well with the heating.
No, I would think not. As there goes Ray Riddall back into the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. We're waiting for Sabre. There goes Sabre into second place, but he has not stopped yet. Grant Riddall goes through.
Wilkes also in the pits, and Santorami just came
Okay,
out with
Grant
softs in
has
the front
stopped.
and mediums in the rear.
So Santorami emerges from the pits in fourth. Yeah, there's Wilkes. Actually, oh my goodness, he ran past his pit and had to back up, so that's going to cost him some serious time. It's not like a yellow situation in Indy cars where you can maybe find a way back in to the top. That's time he's not going to get back.
Today doesn't seem to be Wilkes' finest day. I mean, he didn't seem comfortable at all during the whole event.
Well, we'll see what happens, but he's emerging now in 8th place. This is, despite what you've seen on your screen, a pretty low attrition race. We only have 4 cars out of the race so far out of 26. So 22 are still running. And the problems that we saw with Ślepinski and with, I believe it was Team, they got those repaired in the pits, so they're still out there, even though they're way down the order. Now the question is, here's Sabre, who's in second place, and he seems to be holding his own compared to Riddall. It's hard, Grant Riddall. It's hard to tell so far because they've only been out of the pits for a lap or two. But he
hasn't been in the pits yet.
No, he has not, and I'm starting to wonder if this is part of his plan.
No, actually, I was thinking that maybe I got completely... I mean, I got the idea that there was something with this tire that was not working, but I think I got it completely wrong. Instead of having probably very soft tires that basically deteriorated and left him unable to fight with Ślepinski previously, maybe it was actually the opposite thing. I mean, he had 2 stiff ones, 2 hard ones, because he didn't want to make any stops in the race. So that could be possibly the reason he's here without stopping.
That'll be interesting if that's the case, because if he decides to go the whole way on just one set, we've seen what happens to people when they try to do that. It can be detrimental towards the end of the race. We haven't seen anybody really successfully do that yet. John T.
If you look at his driving and the front tires particularly, David Sabre is turning in the front tires much more than any other car. So there is a lot of understeer there in his car. So maybe if that's the strategy, it wasn't the completely right choice. Maybe in the fronts.
All right. Well, he's stuck with him if he wants to just do the race on no stops. But we're just speculating, of course. But yeah, I think you might be right. Look at the way he pitches the car going into that turn, just letting the car slide at the back. But he may have gone with tires that are harder than other people. Okay, so now we actually have Lewis Wedding out of the race and John Team is out of the race. So I guess he concluded that the car was too damaged to continue on. John Team, so that's too bad. He joins his brother out of the race. But
the moment there was a car that had crashed in the main street or out, I don't know, it was a blue car. What was that?
That would have been John, perhaps, or is it the Ligier?
Mark Whitman, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it was a Ligier.
It's Kirsten. It's Kirsten. Nicholas Kirsten is now dropping through the field and is out of the race, so it must have been him. Yeah, Nicholas,
and Whitman also.
And Matthias, both. All right, so let's see if we can find out what happened here.
It looked like a bad exit from the Peraltada.
I'm going to run it back here because it didn't happen too long ago. See if we can find out what happened here to Mark Whitman. And okay, here we go. Yeah, it was Whitman definitely had an accident in the final turn, but whether or not he involved somebody else is another matter. There's parts all over the place down here. Yep. Yes, he did. Nicholas Kirsten was involved in this accident, so let's see what happened here. Okay, so I think I see. Okay, this is a complex one here. So here's so we're going back pretty far here, but here's Whitman making room for Juha. Juha is lapping him. And then suddenly it's an engine failure. An engine failure occurred in the middle of the Peraltada, I believe. Let's look at this from on board. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like an engine failure there. He brakes and then gets hit from behind by Nicholas Kirsten. So it's kind of a complex accident, but that's what happened. So it almost appeared as if he put the brakes on in the middle of the Peraltada because Kirsten closed on him so fast. It was not just the engine letting go. Anyway, there goes that race for those two, unfortunately. But the closure rate was much faster than you would have expected. Looking further down the field, let's see what's going on here. Chacon 14th, 13th is Bouchard. Our old friend Johnny Aces is in 12th in the Kalani with the Bader-tuned Ford engine, DFR.
Hanging in there. Yeah, and Grand Prix is getting ever closer to David Sauber.
Yeah, see, that's what I was afraid of. If David's plan is to not stop, the degradation of the tires may catch up with him towards the end, and he may not be able to maintain where he is. Luke Rosella has got a top 10 race going right now for the footwork. Del Piccolo is in 9th. Wilkes 8th. 7th is the other Ferrari of Luciano Rocha, so if there's a little bit more attrition, he might get some points today. 6th is Boss after being up as high as 2nd or 3rd. Anders Nilsson's 5th. Centrami 4th, Grant Riddall is 3rd, and as you're pointing out, he is closing in on David Saber here with his fresh Pirellis. He's definitely going to have more grip than Saber does. So the question is, we've got quite a ways to go here. We've got 25 laps to go. That's quite an ask, I think, of the old tires that Saber's on. I mean, if there are hard enough tires, you would think in theory that they could survive, but they may not provide him the speed that he needs to fend off Grant Riddall. Meanwhile, it's a trouble-free run for Ray at the front. He's just run a textbook race from the beginning. His start was fantastic. His pit stop went well. He's been pacing himself very well throughout the race, which is probably why he's at the top of the point standings, because he's been pacing himself so well this year.
The small gap that David has opened now.
Yeah, David, streaking past the AGS of Aaron Curtis. He's got a few more cars in front of him here. So he's got
one thing.
That's actually going to be helpful for David if he can put some lap cars between himself and Grant Riddall. That will be helpful because it just it gives him a bit of insurance and a bit of space between because where you are in the serial does make a huge difference. I mean, if you have somebody that's in between you and the car that's pursuing you, it can really...
Okay, yeah, so here's the interesting thing
about
this gap that just opened between David Sabre and Ray Riddall for a bit. David all of a sudden went like half a second quicker, whereas Grant was doing more or less the same lap times as before. So that means that David Sabre can actually go quicker than he's doing. It's not so clear a tire situation as we might have thought. He's preserving them because it is becoming very evident now that he doesn't want to stop. But it's not as if he's completely doomed because he actually has something up his sleeve still.
Yeah, that's a surprising development, actually, because I would have figured that, yeah, he does seem to be doing well here. He's got a couple of cars ahead of him to lap. But this could turn out to be a surprisingly good strategy for David. We were ready to write him off earlier, saying that he simply made the wrong tire choice, and here maybe he had us duped all along. that's
no,
very...
And speaking of surprising, I mean, don't lose the sight on the fact that he's just 5 seconds behind Ray Riddall, and they are doing the same lap times.
Wow, that's interesting. You're right. It's
I mean, he was miles behind, but because he did no pit stop, it's only 5 seconds
change.
Right now. Six. It varies, but yeah, something around 6 seconds.
Man, Nicholas Kirsten taking a very novel approach to letting people by. Mowing the lawn, doing some of the work for the grounds crew here at the Hermanos Rodriguez circuit. Here comes Sabre making quick work of Drexler. He's carrying so much speed through that curve, the final curve there, looking really, really good. Before we get too far into the second half of the race, we probably should do the trivia question, which I know is your favorite part of the proceedings.
Oh my God. Here we go again.
I'm sorry. All right. So let's see.
Grant badly stuck behind traffic.
Yeah, he's having difficulty there. Yeah.
It's not as if Michael Drexler could evaporate himself, but...
No, he can't do that. All right, so the trivia question was, Trevor Taylor shared the 1962 Mexican Grand Prix victory with which of the following drivers? A, Jim Clark, B, Jack Brabham, or C, Innes Ireland? Time's up. What do you think?
Just for the sake of it, Jack Brabham.
Jack Brabham? Wrong. A correct answer was Jim Clark.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was my other option.
Yeah.
Well, unlucky in the game.
Wrong. I got to use all my wrong buttons. back to the race. So, where's Saber at now? He's still, well, it looks like the gap is opening a bit. It's now up to about 8 seconds between himself and, but the more, I think probably the more critical number is how he does versus Grant, who's trying to close down on him. I really am surprised.
I mean, the important fact is, David's race is clearly against Grant, okay? The fact that he's just 5, 7, 8 seconds behind Ray Vidal was just to highlight the fact that with that distance, even Ray can't relax himself because an error could cost him the win. Okay, but it's true that David Saber's race is against Grant. That's his main opponent right now.
All right, heading down the back straightaway, and look at this. Look, he's opening up a good gap here. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Oh, sorry, no, I thought he was in the Peraltada. That's my mistake. But he's opening up a decent gap at some points between himself and Grant. So.
Oh well, for example, in this last lap, he went down to 1:17.6, whereas the previous one was 18 something. So it's like I said, David can certainly go much quicker than he's doing.
Well, he may be forced to do that once, once Grant gets close to him. He'll probably have to just open up a bit more of what the Ferrari can do. We'll see. The one ace in the hole that he has are the 12 cylinders. The car is obviously very quick on a straight, and he's exploiting the extra power that the car has this race versus the previous round. Mm-hmm. It's the only improvement in horsepower over the whole field.
Okay, I'll be back in a moment.
Okay. So Saber, somebody's got to clean up those parts at the end of the Peraltada. They're still sitting there. Some marshals are not doing their job. They're man, I don't know. Not good marshal work here at the Mexican Grand Prix. Anyway, I would have expected those parts to be cleared a long time ago. Anyway, Saber continuing. Might be because those cars are still in the race and they just went back and repaired themselves. They're not technically out of the race, so maybe those parts will stay there for the duration as long as those cars are there. That's just a theory. Who cares? But Saber is maintaining the gap very well. The gap that is opening, though, is the gap to first place, which is now 8.7 seconds. So Ray is basically controlling the race from the front, and he's on fresh rubber as well. So one would think that unless there are any huge problems, he should be able to take this car home to another win and extend his points lead. Looking back at the points chart, just to remind those of you who tuned in late, Ray is in the lead with 34 points. Anders Nilsson's in second with 28 points. And Anders right now is in 8th place, so he's not in a position to improve that point situation. Centorami and Coxon are tied for third. That explains why I haven't seen Coxon, because he's not here. Lewis Wedding's driving this car, and Schlapinski is 5th with 11 points. So Ray has the potential here, given the fact that Anders is in a non-point scoring position, that he could extend his lead. Centorami is in 5th at the moment, so he would get 2 more points, but Ray would really make some hay and put a big gap if he's able to bring it home.
And Grant is really like doing the most that he can, because he is sliding out of the turns. I think he realizes that it's in this twisty section that he's actually quicker than David.
Yeah.
And so with that carrot in front of him.
Oh no, Giovanni is out of the race. What happened?
Damn it.
Yeah, what happened here? This must have just happened recently, because I was looking at him on our chart and he was 5th just not long ago. Maybe it's an engine failure, because the car is in one piece in the garage. Usually when you go into the garage, if it's been an accident, the parts are still missing. Oh, it looks like, yeah, it is an engine failure. Flame at the back of the Dallara. The engine failed just at the entrance of the Peraltada. Yeah, that's an engine failure for sure. fire at the back of the car. So unfortunately, I was saying, looking at the points chart, that Ray has a chance here to leave with a huge points lead if things end up the way that they are right now. He's definitely looking strong at the front, looking like he's going to take home another win. If he does, he will be able to lengthen his lead because Nilsson, who's in second place in the points, is not in a points-paying position right now, or not in a very strong one. He's in 7th at the moment. Just got promoted to 7th because of Centurami being out of the race. And Centurami is 3rd in the points, tied with Coxon. So and Coxon's not here today, so those two would drop in the standings. So Ray really has an invaluable opportunity on the plate here to take a stranglehold on this championship. Now he's coming up to lap Gabriel Del Piccolo. And does so with ease. That's another one of those Ford Bader tuned DFR engines. Heading into the first turn. We're getting down to decision time here, lap 51 out of 67, so very shortly we'll be talking about 10 laps to go. But the story of the race, if so far, has been David Saber and his inspired tire choice, one that we were ready to knock him on the head for and say that wasn't a good idea, and he's making liars out of us right now because he's able to keep. Because he's able to keep, he's definitely not challenging for the win, but he's able to keep the Pirelli shod, and maybe that is the difference here, the Pirelli shod Grant Riddall at bay.
Yeah, and without the pit stop, we have no clue what kind of tires he has got because
actually,
we didn't look at it.
I might be wrong there. No, he does have Pirellis. I was right. Later on, they switched to Goodyears, but Grant may have pulled off. I'm sorry. Turns out it may have turned out that Davis pulled off a master stroke here. We'll see what happens. Yeah, the gap.
And one thing we haven't mentioned yet, then we should note, is that this is a beautiful looking track thanks to the work of Martin Lacina, if I remember correctly, who updated it.
Oh, look at that! Grant runs right across the circuit. He misses the turn entirely. I'm not sure what caused that to happen. Let's take a look at a replay. On board with... did he just miss his braking zone? Yeah, he braked way too late for the corner and managed to... He saved it by running straight, but... and didn't lose a whole lot of time, but man, he just missed his braking zone there for a second. He must be looking at something on his dash. You were saying, though, about Lacina in this track. Yeah, Lacina has done excellent work for us on a variety of circuits and is continuing to do so behind the scenes. He's emerging as one of our most trusted people when it comes to tracks and getting them to look right for the race itself. Yeah, this is a very nice build of Hermanos Rodriguez. The textures look great, and it's actually quite a lean build as well. It's not over. It doesn't splurge on the polygons, which is what you want to do when you're designing stuff for a video game platform. You want to try to get the maximum detail with the minimum number of polygons, because polygons eat CPU space and bog down the game if there's too many of them. So. But then you don't want to go too lean and have graphics that look like they're from the 90s. So it's a delicate balance, but he does a good job of it, I gotta say. I love the depth of field in this shot, looking down the back straight, looking back, or the long straight at the front, looking back at people, and you see the haze in the air. You see the dust that's there. So whether you want to call that pollution or clag, I don't.
Being near Mexico City.
Being Mexico City, that would make sense. But in any case, it definitely does give you a sense of space and depth, and that's yeah. The track looks great. He's doing excellent work for us for sure.
So Grant is now about 1.5 seconds behind David.
Yeah, he's closed for sure. So David, if he has the ability to respond, the time is now.
Okay, they're going now.
And that's even with the runoff that he had earlier.
Yeah, start finish line, that's 117.7 for David Saber. In the case for Antrida, that's in 117.8. So he was actually slower, but it must have been in the previous lap that he was stopped.
He's really fighting. He's really fighting that car.
David is holding him off fine.
Yeah. Well, he's really fighting that car in turn one as well. The car just is understeering something fierce.
Yeah, you look at the. If you look from cockpit view, you will see, especially in the turns that are a bit quicker. If you look at the steering wheel, you will see that Grant is actually steering the car into the corner.
Yeah.
It's just the tire slip and degradation that brings him to the correct place, but he's actually taking into account that and pointing the car more towards the inside of the corner than it's actually going.
He actually downshifts in the Peraltada. He actually downshifts in the middle of it, which is interesting.
Say it again. I should know better, since Peralte in Spanish is actually banking.
Well, there you go. That is exactly what it is.
It is. Peraltada means bank.
Well, Ray is basically checked out of this group. He is 10 seconds ahead, so no surprise there. 10 seconds ahead of third place, 8 seconds ahead of David Saber. And the gap between Saber and Grant has decreased notably, but Saber seems to be holding his own pretty well here. Here he comes to put a lap on Bouchard. Does so. Yeah, he seems to carry a lot of speed with the Peraltada. That's actually, let me see that again. Him going through that. I'm going to see if he downshifts at all going through here. He's in 6th gear as he goes through. This is a replay. He actually goes up a gear into 7th gear before the start-finish line. So he's actually going up a gear as opposed to Grant Riddall, who's actually downshifting for the Peraltada. Like if we go back here, running it backwards to the entrance of the Peraltada, I want to show you guys the difference here. Got 5th. Yeah, here. Yeah, see, it's an entirely different situation with the Dallara. Grant goes in with 6th gear and then downshifts to 5th in the middle of the turn and then returns to 6th gear just before the start-finish line. Now, admittedly, these cars don't, like he has a 6th gear box and 7 gears are used with the semi-automatic Ferrari.
Yep.
But an interesting difference in the way they're attacking that corner. One's going for a lower gear, one's going for a higher gear. Best lap of the race for Saber, 117.583. That's the best that he's been able to do. And if you look at it's been 117.526 for Grant, just slightly better, but 10 laps to go now. 10 laps to go in the...
okay, David is looking, Luis, because I was seeing smoke puffs there, but it's actually the...
Careful.
Behind Del Piccolo. Yeah, like I said, look, there is so little room here to rotate. David got boxed behind Jonathan. This could be Grant Riddall's opportunity.
He's still boxed behind him. This is definitely Grant's opportunity here. It's his best one he's had so far. As there goes Saber, into the Peraltada, shifting up to 7th, no doubt.
And now it's going to hurt Grant.
Yeah, because Grant's going down a gear. He's actually losing ground now. But there he goes. He gets by. He has no trouble getting by Jonathan, but the overall, he's back to 1.5 seconds almost between himself and. As actually, there's a battle going on there between Gel Piccolo and. Actually, no, that was not a. Sorry, that's not a battle at all. That's those are on people are on separate laps. My apologies. Wilkes is actually back into the points now. He's in 5th. So despite his not really handling up the car very well early in the race, looks like he might come away with some points here in the end. Yuha's in 4th, which is a great result for him if he can keep it based on where he started in the race. Grant 3rd and pursuing David Sabre in the Ferrari with his old tires.
Only 1 second gap now, but
at this point, David Sabre's tires are only tires in the academic sense. They are round. They were once made of rubber. And there he goes again. Downshifts again into 5th, then up to 6th again. And there goes David sweeping by the Fon Matal of the Louis Siphons. As they're heading into the first series of curves again. Laps winding down here.
Hurt. Let's see if he can get through. Yeah, okay, Lewis makes it easy for him.
Yeah, time is running out here for Grant if he wants to get that 2nd place.
Oh, for sure, because we're 8 laps from the end. So, and it's not as if he's already there and trying to overtake, because it's something I think that we have repeated like about 1 million times. One thing is arriving, a very different proposition is overtaking. Now he seems to be closing in well, but let's see. Yeah, there you go. I mean, David is certainly much quicker in the quicker turns. You can see that in Peraltada and in the exit of this previous one. And look at that! What an incredible gap he opened here. And this is one of those things that is so demoralizing, because Grant is like catching up there in the twisty section, and I nearly got him, and then all of a sudden in these 2 turns in the straight, it's like boom, gone, away.
Yeah, and really the only way that happened is he actually was taking advantage of the fact that David was getting bogged down in traffic. That was the only real way that he was able to get a clean shot at him. But kudos to David if he's able to pull this off and be second in the race at the end, because that's a fabulous strategic decision with the Ferrari.
No, he's so far driving a fantastic race, because it's not just that he has the worn tires, but he's also under the pressure that no other than Grant Ridal, which is, I mean, that's something.
Yeah, Grant is attack constantly, and if he's having issues trying to close on Sabre, that means Sabre made a really good choice. But here he is actually closing in now.
Yeah, it's 0.5 of a second, but between this turn and the Parabolica, you see what happens.
Yeah, right here, he goes for 7th gear the whole way through. Revs drop a little bit, but that 12-cylinder power is still there. And he just motors down the straight. That last lap was a 1:17.854.
Yeah, at the end of the straight, the gap is 1.5. I mean, it goes up to 1.5, and it was 0.5. I mean, it's a full second that David gains in the Peraltada and the main straight.
Well, Grant actually was a little faster in that lap. He did a 1:17.2. So he hasn't given up yet. Eight laps to go. Or actually 7 at this point. Oh, Sabre locks him up going into the hairpin. That was close. That could have been a problem for him, but he soldiers on without any issue. But yeah, you can see, I'm looking on board with Grant right now. He is absolutely wrenching that wheel just to stay on the line he's supposed to be on. He's just
And we are, while we are watching this, we are also missing the fact that there's nearly the same gap and fight between Wills and Nilsson.
ah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there they
although
are.
this is for fifth position, but anyway, probably the most intense one is the one between David and Grant.
Well, let's give Nilsson some TV time here. We haven't seen a lot of him today. Yeah, he's following Wilkes and definitely has an opportunity here to.
Yeah, he's catching up, and I would be very surprised if in the end this doesn't translate into an overtake, although there's only 6 left.
Yeah. Well, another really interesting F1 race. It's been a long layoff since the last time we raced, but these guys are back in action and looking really good. These are I was mentioning on Instagram, these are 26 of the very best drivers we have at ISO, and they're certainly showing that today. Lots of skill on display in this race. Yeah, Wilkes doesn't look like he's able to pull out much of a gap there. They got Keo McKeels in front of him, throwing up a dust cloud, but Nilsson right.
There goes Nilsson. I think he will
He's
wait
gonna
one
try.
more lap.
No, he's look.
No, he's letting him know that okay, mate, next lap going to be on your side.
Still, the gap actually has increased between Saber and Grant Riddall. It's now 1.7 seconds. So
Yeah.
looking pretty good from the Maranello point of view. All those acerbic-tongued tabloid writers in Maranello are going to have to probably save their bile for another situation. Or maybe they'll just direct it all at Rocha. Why couldn't you get 6th? So, in any case, Saber driving easily his best race of the year.
Yeah, Wills has stayed up given the situation because it's a nice fifth position that he can try to preserve.
Yeah, he is actually pulling out a bit of a gap now. Yeah. Wilkes,
Whoopa! David Sabre nearly lost it there. My goodness! Could this be Grant's opportunity?
he's not going to get another one like this, probably. So he
Oh,
better.
joy!
They're right with each other now. Saber goes into overdrive as they exit, and Grant is
Yeah,
having-
but this time he's so close. Let's see what happens here in the twisty section, because all the time before Grant had to overhaul a full second. But now he's right with David Sabre
Well,
in this twisty section.
David made an error the previous lap too, where he locked it up in the hairpins. So he's starting to feel the pressure. It looks like. I hope that we're wrong, but he definitely, this is a great battle here. But
He needs to make the car wide,
yeah, he needs.
and try to get some distance in the next lap.
Oh, they're in the same
Look
shot
at
now.
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's struggling up here in the twisty bits. He doesn't like being in that hairpin, and he managed to get through there okay now. And now it's just a cinch. Now it's just a processional through these turns. But
He's very lucky of this type of track, because otherwise Grant would have been already.
I think David has the ace in the hole, because when they go through the Peraltada, he's going into the 7th gear and just going for it. And meanwhile, his competitor is downshifting. Going in there, so that's the real difference there. They're attacking.
Okay.
They're attacking that turn totally differently, and there he goes. Yeah, the gap opens up again. So that was
That was Grant's chance. I mean, it might happen again over the laps that remain, but it was that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a mistake on David's part for that to happen again, or to get bottled up behind back markers, which is not going to happen because he's got a clear track in front. Well, no, he doesn't. He has a footwork coming up. I think that's Luke Rosella. But barring a mistake on David's part or getting bottled up, I think, it really, it's going to be tough for Grant to make an impression at this point.
See, Anderson Reeves, and this is also close. Let's see what he can do in these laps.
God, he's really pulled it out now. He's back up to 1.6. And Ray is now on his second to last lap. And actually, it's interesting. The gap is closed a bit. You can see the Ferrari that's closest in this shot is Luciano Rocha, but the gap is actually closed a bit. It's 7 seconds now. So I think
And
Ray
Nielsen is already with Wilkes. So let's see what happens. 2 laps to go, and Nielsen also knows that this is his chance.
This is his real chance to move up the 4 points versus 3 points versus 2.
Man, traffic incoming now for David Sabre. Let's see what happens. Oof. I mean, there is no overtaking, but this
this
is
is
like...
at this point it's just tire. You're just showing off your precision in hitting your marks through these curves. That's all you're doing. You're not overtaking anybody.
No, but I mean, there is so much like intensity here. Even if there's no overtaking maneuvers, it's like, I mean, your heart is all the time on your throat.
All right, and here comes the final lap now for Ray Radal, leader of the championship, and he is going to haul in 10 points if he can just complete one more lap here in Mexico. And that's going to be a very critical 10 points because, as we have pointed out in the points standings, Anders actually is now in the points and is 6th. So if he gets 1 point versus Ray's 10, that means Ray will pull an additional 9 points away. Centurami's out of the race. Cox is not here, and Ślepinski is out of the race too. So it's really looking like an excellent points haul for Ray if he can just bring this car home. Getting into the twisty bits now. He's not put a foot wrong today. He just drove a textbook race from the moment the green light came on. Made his 1 pit stop, and coming out of the last 2 turns here to go onto the back straight, and then all he has to do is negotiate the Peraltada.
Whoa! Gran Ridal spins and hits the wall.
Oh my goodness, Grant's out of the race! That's incredible. What happened here? He wasn't in contest with David, at least not according to what we see here. That's incredible. He runs off. Well, we didn't really see what happened there, but because of ping, but he just lost it in the twisty bits. That's incredible.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Ryan already crosses the finish line. He's the winner. Anders and Wilkes. Let's see how this pans out.
Sabre
Although
finishes in 2nd place. Here comes Boss in 3rd. Grant is in 4th, but he's going to drop down the standings. Here comes Wilkes. He's doing a good job of defending himself, and he's going to get one more position because of the demise of Grant late in the race. But here comes Wilkes. I think he's going to be able to hold him off. But Wilkes will come home in 4th place, thanks to Grant Ridal's untimely demise. They exit the Peraltada now. And there goes Wilkes, 4th place, excellent result. Right behind him, Anders Nilsson for 5th. 6th is going to be Grant Ridal, based on the fact that he had so much time between himself and Rocha. So at least Grant salvages 1 point from this situation. Rocha is going to finish in 7th.
But man, that is heartbreaking for Grant.
I know,
mean,
just incredible.
In the penultimate lap.
Well, the thing that's so striking about that is Del Piccolo has a great finish in 8th. 9th is Drexler. I think that's his highest finish in this series. 10th, Luke Rosella, also his highest finish. Bouchard 11th. 12th for Chacon. 13th for Johnny Aces. 14th, Cam McKeels. 15th, Aaron Curtis. Not bad in the AGS. 16th for Lewis Stevens. And then the rest of these are DNFs. Ślepinski, Centurami, Whitman, Kirsten, Wedding. Team John, Team Oscar, Felipe Elias, Tim Hilla, and Dario Apa was the first car out in the Ligier Lamborghini. But an incredible race, and it was a copybook race by Ray, but great job also by David, who he had us all snookered. We were sure that he had made the wrong tire choice, and he made us look like a bunch of fools. He was able to hold on to that, and he forced Grant into making a very unfortunate error on the final lap of the race. He actually wasn't even in contest with him. He was trying to catch up, but I guess the pushing of that car finally got to him, and he couldn't. He just ran out of track at one point. But in any case, that was the Mexican Grand Prix. A great points haul, as I said before, for Ray Riddall, and an excellent race for David. Morale boost, and I'm sure, because he hasn't had the kind of races he would have liked to have had in that Ferrari. So it's not a win, but it certainly, I think, will make him feel more confident going forward. And Wilkes ended up having a good race in spite of the problems he had earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, and overall, and Juha finishing third was fantastic, given where he started. He started way down the field.
Who has joined us now in the booth, by the way.
Hey, Juha, great job getting on the podium. You didn't start from a very good spot, but you were able to make hay really fast.
Yeah, I had a really good start, surprisingly. And Anders helped me with the setup, and it was brilliant. The car was fantastic all race long.
That's cool.
If it had been on good years instead of the rallies.
Well, you're gonna have to talk to Flavio about that, and see if he can get. The irony is, they would have good years next year in '92.
Yeah, they would, but I'm not getting them. So, but I understand that's what caused Grant's downfall. So,
I don't know. Grant just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and I guess it just caught up to him on the last lap. But he was understeering something fierce. You should have seen the rotation on the steering wheel in every one of those serpentine turns. He was just pushing and pushing the whole way through. His front tires may have finally given up, and he just ran out of track or something. But very interesting race, and fun to broadcast. Thank you to all of our drivers. They put on an excellent show. Don't forget, coming up soon here, the Granada Land Ford Dealers Motorsport Weekend, which is going to be at Oulton Park, the Foster's version of the circuit, which does not include the hairpin. That's around 8 of 13. That'll be next Sunday, June 16th. The race one starts at 2000 CEST. Great race overall. Any final thoughts before we say goodnight, Alberto?
Well, for me, the race of the night was made by David Saber. I mean, if there is something that you can highlight, is that it's clear that the right tire choice can bring you to the end, and also in competitive lap time. So it was amazing to watch that, because I think he's the only one who has made no pit stop. So that was incredible. Yeah. He showed what you can do. He was very much prepared for the race when we thought he had made actually a bad tire choice. So amazing. Lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. And Juha, another good finish for you. Looking forward to the next race, what do you expect is going to be your biggest challenge?
I think it's Manicourt, the next one.
Yes.
Well, seems like more of a power track, so might suffer a bit with the Ford engine, but we'll do our best. If we can make a car work here, I'm sure we can do the same in the other tracks.
All right, cool. Well, I want to thank Alberto for, again, another excellent color commentary job. You always provide such expert insights. And thanks to Juha for dropping in the booth. So for Alberto and Juha, this is Jason White saying so long from Mexico City. We'll see you on our next broadcast at Magny Corps. Everyone take care and be safe.